Shove it, man!
Alright, Brick Boys, back to the Shove It show we go. It's Season 3 Ring of the Hawk, and today we have our first tag team on the show. For those of you who haven't seen an episode of Ring of the Hawk before, first of all, give yourself a punch square to the gut. This is the show where we watch back all of the matches from a short run of 30 or less matches, and only the main shows count. At the end they get a grade and we'll let you know if they can do the JOB to the HAWK. Today's video was a Patreon request by... I've actually lost their name, whoever it was, but thank you whoever you are. I'm really sorry for losing your name. But if you want to make the Hawk squawk, sign up today and I might remember your name. Not promising anything though. And of course,
if you know a wrestler who can do the JOB to the HAWK any night, any day, ha ha, shove their name in the comment section, Jack.
Okay, it's Crowbar and David Flair. Will you make the girls care? Both wrestlers had already competed in WCW prior to this tag team forming. Crowbar for around 2 years and David Flair for around 1 year. David Flair obviously wasn't an experienced wrestler, but Crowbar had a bit more, and he also had a tag team experience, as he'd been in a short team called The Extreme. Flair was also in an on-screen relationship with Daffney, and they had an insane person gimmick. Match 1, Nitro, Lethal Lottery Tag Tournament. Vampiro and Evan Courageous are tag team partners who don't get on, and they take on David Flair with Daffney and Crowbar. They both look at each other like they hate each other, but then it changes to love as they headbutt their way to the ring. Vampiro hits a dive on them before the bell is even rung. They seem to enjoy that one. Crowbar will properly start this one now and immediately hits a German suplex. David's in now and he connects with a suplex of his own. Quick tags here and Crowbar hits the spinning back elbow. He ain't done though and he nails the slingshot leg drop. Flair is tagged back in and they want to do their first double team, but instead they get a double facebuster. Vamp grabs Crowbar and hits a rock bottom. Evan gets the tag and he plays about for a second before he's thrown from the ring. Crowbar gets a good reaction from the fans now as he sets up his splash off the apron. He can't follow it up in the ring and he's drop kicked back out the ring. Courageous hits a crossbody on the outside and at the same time Vampiro hits a diving clothesline. Vampiro and Courageous argue over who's going to make the pin. 3 Count try to beat up Vampiro, but they aren't good enough. Hey look, it's Jeff Hardy's stoner friend. Flair slams Vampiro to the mat and they start working on some nut related offense. But I guess Vampiro doesn't have nuts because he starts fighting back straight away with punches and kicks. Vampiro hits Flair with a Mission Oakley driver whilst 3 Count have the referee distracted. Crowbar hits Vamp with the, well it was a crowbar. The ref eventually counts the 3. 3 Count aren't too bothered about the loss and they start dancing with happiness. And Flair and Crowbar join in with them and start dancing. Then they change their minds and take them out with crowbars. Actually pretty funny. Flair and Daffney are getting it on whilst Crowbar looks at a thong. A group of geeks say this can't ever happen again, so Flair and Crowbar also take them out. I'm shocked how much time was dedicated to them. See, that's how you get someone over. They won, they didn't look like geeks, and it was funny. The debut gets a B. Slightly let down by wrestling quality, but everything else was great. There's no need to hate. Match 2, Tag Tournament Quarterfinal. David Flair and Crowbar with Daffney. This Crowbar almost seems drunk. Maybe he is, it wouldn't surprise me at this time in WCW. Flair looks like he hasn't slept in a year. They take on Lash LaRue and Midnight for some reason, who teleports into the ring. So I guess it's an Undertaker gimmick with superpowers. Flair is laughing at Lash LaRue, but Lash doesn't think it's funny and starts throwing punches. Flair looks so awkward out there. He's hit with a side slam which doesn't get the job done. Lash with a reverse atomic drop which sends Flair over to Crowbar who gets the tag. Crowbar bites off some of Lash's curly hair. Lash responds with a drop toe hold which sends him out the ring. This seems to be a bad choice as Flair and Crowbar work together. Flair holds Lash still, but Crowbar hits his own partner as he dives through the ropes. Lash hits another dive on top of them. It's complete dominance from Lash LaRue. I never thought I'd see this. He sends Flair into the guardrail and Crowbar into the steps. Crowbar holds his gut like he's just taken a punch from the Hawk. Stevie Ray's on commentary and he demands that Lash tag in Midnight. Like a complete idiot, Lash does it even though he was dominating. He scoop slams Crowbar. And then she body presses him on top of Crowbar. Midnight's dominating the match now and she connects for shoulder block and then a cartwheel into a dropkick. Stevie Ray doesn't like this so grabs her foot and drags her out the ring. She looks confused whether she's in or out. Then he pops her in the jaw. The match carries on in the ring as a bunch of other wrestlers are around the ring. Booker T and Stevie Ray are fighting. In the meantime, Lash LaRue with a Frankenstein on Crowbar making him crash on top of Flair. Lash hits a cradle shock on Crowbar but he can't get the 3 because even more wrestlers are here. This is the Mamalukes. Flair and Crowbar laugh and cuddle as they watch Lash getting beaten down. Now Flair and Crowbar are fighting each other. What a chaotic match this is. Vito hits a big impaler DDT on Lash and somehow David Flair ends up getting the win. I actually feel a bit sorry for these guys. They were all trying to have a good match, but there was just 50 other things happening at once. It was a mess. It's a C for character work, but it was always going to be difficult getting a higher grade in this chaotic environment. Match 3 Nitro, semi-final tag tournament match, Buff Bagwell versus David, Flair and Crowbar. It's then revealed that Vampiro will be Bagwell's partner. He's just a bad loser because he lost his last match. Crowbar jumps him before the bell. It doesn't help and Vamp kicks him down. Vampiro goes to the top rope to hit a diving spinning heel kick. No pin is made and instead Vampiro hits a clothesline. Once again there's no focus on the match itself because Arn Anderson and Terry Funk are here to try and talk to David Flair. He's screaming and laughing like a pig from a horror film. In the meantime, Vampiro have a superplex on Crowbar. Bagwell's annoyed that Vamp is stealing his spotlight. They are tag team partners who don't get on. Vampiro loses focus and he starts arguing with Funk and Anderson. The Funkster beats him up and sends him back into the ring. Bagwell decides to hit his own partner with the blockbuster and then Flair rolls into the ring to make the pin. What a horrible match. I don't think Flair and Crowbar hit a single move, not even a punch, but they somehow walked away with the win. It's an S.
Oh no!
Before the next match, a wild Slapnuts appears. Jeff Jarrett and the NWO have taken Daffney hostage. It's a somewhat uncomfortable promo from Steiner. He runs down Daffney calling her ugly. The crowd loudly boo at this. At least she's laughing the whole time so she isn't too upset. Crowbar and Flair are too busy fighting each other so it looks like she's screwed. Match 4 Nitro Tag Tournament Final for the vacant WCW Tag titles. It's worth pointing out that this and the last two matches all took place on the same Nitro, so triple duty would be impressive, but unfortunately they did nothing in the last match, they lose their validation. Nash and Steiner versus Crowbar and Flair. They rush the ring but Nash boots Flair straight in the face, and Steiner throws Crowbar out the ring. Flair looks like he's dead already after a Nash clothesline. Steiner is sat on commentary because he's not taking it seriously. Nash with the big side slam now, but there's no ref. Steiner's arguing with a fan saying that he looks like shit. Nash is beating up Crowbar and Flair with ease. Nash then boots Crowbar off the ring apron. Not sure where this one's going because there's still no ref. Nash with a double finger poke to the eyelid of Crowbar. Now a nut claw from Nash. He sends our two guys together head first. Nash starts hitting knees in the corner as Arn Anderson and Terry Funk lead some geeks out. Kevin Nash has now hit the powerbomb on Crowbar. Anderson and Nash are arguing. Nash looks for a second one on Flair, but he can't manage it because Arn Anderson hits Nash with a crowbar, and Flair and Crowbar are the new tag team champions. Flair's really ungrateful because he hits Arn Anderson with a crowbar. Daffney's here with Slapnuts, but nothing happens, so I'm not sure what the point was in kidnapping her. On the other hand, I'm shocked they beat Steiner and Nash, but on the other hand, they did absolutely nothing. Let's just give it a D for a rare Ring of the Hawk title win. Flair just seems confused if he likes Arn Anderson or not. Match 5 Thunder, WCW Tag Title match. The challengers are Konad and Kidman with Mysterio and they take on Flair and Crowbar, the champions, with Daffney. They remind me of a couple of vicious pit bulls. Flair has his belt on backwards. Kidman and Crowbar to start. Crowbar uses some basic strikes which seem to work until Kidman turns the pace on and hits a head scissors. Kidman keeps running around like a hyperactive toddler, so Crowbar gives him a spinning back elbow to calm him down. That doesn't help and Kidman does a hurricanrana and a dropkick. Crowbar tags Flair in the face. He shouldn't have bothered because Kidman batters him. David Flair gets a bit lucky now and he connects with a vertical suplex. Somehow Kidman turns it straight back around with the powerbomb. I guess when you're fighting David Flair these kind of things happen. Kidman with a rough looking clothesline now. Crowbar realises that his friend's in trouble so he interferes with a missile dropkick. He also slingshots himself over the ropes to hit a leg drop. Konad has to break up the pin. Konad is in now illegally and he spikes Crowbar with a DDT. Kidman can't make the tag out because at the very last second Crowbar German suplexes him, good timing there. Crowbar tries to powerbomb Kidman, but come on Crowbar. We all know you don't try and powerbomb Kidman, because there's the face buster. Kidman's thinking of finishing it, so Flair stops him on the top rope. Crowbar tries a Frankensteiner, but it doesn't work because Mysterio holds onto Kidman's jeans. Middle rope diving clothesline by Kidman now. Arn Anderson walks out looking like trash. Konad seems to be legally in the match now and he clotheslines everyone. Crowbar falls on Flair. Konad now hits the face buster on Flair and he tries the tequila sunrise, but unfortunately for him, Arn Anderson hits Konad in his bald head and that's the 3. Why would Anderson still want to help Flair? Much better match there and less distractions. Flair and Crowbar still seem to feel like the underdogs in every match and they certainly don't dominate them. This one's a C. Match 6 Nitro WCW Tag Title Triple Threat Falls Count Anywhere. The challengers Saturn and Malenko of Asia and Shane Douglas versus the Filthy Animals with Mysterio. And they all start fighting before our guys can even make it out. Crowbar seems drunk again as he comes to the ring and he doesn't know what to do. Within seconds, Flair is powerbombed by Kidman and Crowbar is powerbombed by Konad. Saturn with a backdrop suplex on Flair now, it's really not going well. Crowbar manages a front suplex on Dean Malenko, but he's immediately dropkicked by Konad. Saturn elbows Flair down now. Daffney seems to laugh no matter what's happening. Dean Malenko seems to be the only man in the match that Crowbar can damage. Flair uses an actual crowbar on Kidman now, which does work. He's now dead. Like complete idiots, the Revolution leave because they want to beat up Mysterio. We come back to the ring where Crowbar hits a diving elbow to the back of Conard. Still no idea what's happening in this match. Saturn then dives off a balcony to kill Mysterio. Douglas and Malenko stand around staring at their friend Saturn. He's hurt his gut. Flair flies out of nowhere and pins Saturn, and not sure why his friends just let the pin happen. Just not good. Every time they win it feels incredibly lucky and stupid. They don't do much and they are never the focus of the match. That's not their fault, but this just wasn't good. It's a D. Match 7, Sold Out 2000, triple threat. Vampiro takes on both Flair and Crowbar. Crowbar throws the tag title down the ramp, so I think this is essentially a handicap match. Vampiro takes both of them down straight away. He hits a double facebuster on the friends and then he shakes like he's got Parkinson's. Now Vampiro chops Crowbar and waves into the camera. Crowbar reverses a suplex attempt and hits a Northern Lights for a 2. He tries a monkey flip, but nothing happens. I think Flair was supposed to do something. Vampiro with a nice back kick now, shades of Jethro Nero Hardy. Vampiro follows that with a suicide dive through the middle rope. He seems like he's having great fun and the crowd are loving it. Daffney then distracts the referee for a while, but literally nothing comes of that either. Crowbar tells Flair he wants to have a turn trying to beat up Vampiro, but he's immediately hit with a big diving spin kick. Flair's top is ripped open as he's chopped down and thrown out the ring onto Crowbar. Double baseball slide to take out the two friends now. Vamp tries to do a move to Flair on the outside when Crowbar crashes down on top of them. It looks a bit scary for a second, I didn't think they were ready for him. Vamp's now losing for the first time. Crowbar gives him a snap mirror and dives off the apron on top of him. The crowd chant, "David sucks." We're back in the ring now and Vampiro tries to send Flair out the ring, but he seems to struggle. Vampiro is amazed how difficult that was, which allows Crowbar to sneak up on him with a German. He hits a slingshot leg drop, but he can't get the free. Crowbar and Vamp fight on the top rope, which leads to a Vamp superplex. The match slows down for the first time now. Crowbar slams Flair on top of Vamp for another 2. David Flair with another 2 with a suplex. Then it all goes wrong. Crowbar tries a powerbomb and Vamp wants to reverse it into a facebuster, but they botch it. The crowd boo and groan. Vamp quickly makes it to his feet and he back suplexes Flair and spin kicks Crowbar. And then it's almost over after the Vampiro rock bottom. Crowbar immediately puts his foot on the rope. Not sure why he didn't wait until the ref counted to 2. The numbers game is really beating Vamp now. Crowbar with a nice top rope splash, but he doesn't make a pin. Instead he tells Flair to put on the figure 4 leg lock. At the same time, Crowbar splashes into the ring, but the camera misses that happening. It should be over, but Flair doesn't want Crowbar getting the win. Flair hits Crowbar with a backdrop suplex. He starts kissing Daffney, which is almost a mistake because Vamp rolls him up for a 2. Vampiro with a powerbomb on Crowbar now. Daffney back in the ring now. Flair crashes into her and when he turns around he's hit with the Vampiro coffin drop for the 3. A fun match with one bad botch, but at least there was plenty of wrestling for a change. This one's a C, not bad at all. Match 8, Nitro Tag Title match. Shane Helms and Jeff Hardy Stoner Friend with Courageous versus Crowbar and Flair with Daffney. 3 count with dropkick straight away. Stoner Friend with a big dive over the ropes followed by Shane Helms from the top to the outside. 3 count with the double roll up in the ring which gets them a 2. Flair and Crowbar manage to turn it around now. They hit a huge double back body drop on Stoner Friend. I think his foot hit the ropes. David Flair has turned into Brock Lesnar. He's hitting suplexes everywhere. Evan Courageous is stalking Daffney. Crowbar now with the back sack and crack. David Flair hits Courageous in the back with a crowbar. At the same time you can just about see Crowbar hitting a lion salt, but the camera isn't really interested. He's stuck in a bit of a handicap situation. He gets a super kick. Helms with the Frankensteiner now, followed by a Stoner Friend turning in mid-air splash. Flair finally helps his partner out and he gets rid of Stoner Friend. Crowbar connects with the inverted DDT, and believe it or not, that's the 3. Really fun match, and I can't fault anything apart from the camera angles. That isn't their fault though, so it's a B. Match 9, Thunder. WCW Tag Title match. The champions, David Flair and Crowbar with Daffney, versus the challengers, the Mamalukes with gifted Glenn Gilberti. How is he gifted? Vito and Flair to start. Flair tries to yell at him, but he's smacked down. Vito goes nuts at him in the corner. Flair manages a dodge and he hits shoulders to the gut. The crowd are actually cheering Flair on. The cheers don't help and he's knocked down pretty quickly. Now the Mamalukes send Flair out of the ring. They forgot about Crowbar though and he dives down on all of them and it looks like he fell a bit short. I don't know, the camera angle was bad as usual. Despite not being the legal man, Crowbar with the flying crossbody on Vito and he tries to make the pin. Then he wants to follow that up but he can't and he's smashed with a kick. Vito now hits him with a delayed vertical suplex and Johnny the Bull is in. They hit a kick neckbreaker combination. Flair finally does something to help with a cheap shot which allows Crowbar to hit the Northern Lights. David Flair can't usually do much and he's smacked a bunch of times and hit with a spin kick. Athletically, Johnny the Bull now leaps to the top rope which the crowd go nuts for. Then he waits forever to get his balance and dive, which he does manage eventually but he completely misses it. Daffney is doing the Glenn Gilberti dance. Crowbar has the tag and he hits drop kicks and a back body drop. Crowbar slams Vito, but he doesn't make a pin. Instead, he hits the top rope splash. Johnny the Bull breaks the pin up. Now the Bull is slammed and Crowbar hits him with the Lion Salt. Vito wants to break up the pin but completely misses. Crowbar almost with the roll-up pin now. The Mamelukes decide to start double teaming. It feels like every match is a handicap match for Crowbar. Vito lightly slaps Flair off the ring apron and then Daffney gives him a crowbar. He shouldn't have bothered though, because moments later Crowbar almost crashes into him, and then seconds later after that, Flair accidentally hits his own partner with the bar. That's the 3. Daffney and Flair don't even seem too upset as they trip over Crowbar. Crowbar feels like he's at such a disadvantage every match. Flair doesn't even try and help him most of the time. Despite that, this one's a see. It was a good watch. Match 10, Nitro Tag Title Match, Street Fight. Crowbar and Flair challenge, but the Mamelukes jump them straight away in the back whilst they're cutting a promo. Flair's getting beaten up on a packing crate, but when they come back from the adverts, they're outside, and one of the Mamelukes gets a back body drop into a pile of snow. The snow's all over them, it looks great, a really cool scene, but then they immediately come back inside the building, perhaps they were too cold. They scramble to the ring with Flair stumbling after them carrying a snow shovel. On the entrance ramp, Flair somehow falls over Vito. We're now in the ring. Vito smacks Flair with a belt. Vito uses his crutch now to hit a lid into Flair's nutsack. He follows that with a kick to the nutsack. Vito decides Flair's had enough, so he gets rid of him, and now Crowbar and Johnny the Bull are in the ring. He hits a power slam and a body press drop. The Bull misses his dive on the ropes, which allows Crowbar to do a scoop slam and a leg drop to the nutsack. Shades of Jeff Hardy.
Dude, if one more person in this video steals my move, I'm going back to Carolina.
With a steel chair on the Bull, Crowbar hits the slingshot leg drop. Crowbar with a dive onto the Mamelukes now. Flair and Crowbar get a table in the ring. Nice to see them working together for a change. Crowbar drops the table on top of the Bull. Not seen it done like that before. He wants to dive, but gifted Glenn Gilberti is here and he makes Crowbar fall in his nutsack. They set Crowbar up on the table and Vito finishes him off with a dive through the table, and that's the 3. Wish it had gone on longer because Crowbar can really succeed in this sort of environment. It's a C. Match 11 Thunder, non-title tag. The Mamelukes with gifted Glenn Gilberti versus Crowbar and Flair with Daffney. Crowbar wisely starts this match. He manages to float over into a Northern Lights. Crowbar now has a scoop slam followed by a slingshot splash. Vito eventually cheats, which allows Johnny the Bull to hit the press slam. The Mamelukes with a double knockdown now. Like an idiot, Crowbar tags Flair in on his head and he brings him in the hard way. Flair is dancing like a moron and Vito kicks him in the head. Vito's now running around in circles as he does a suplex. It feels like it might be over soon. Vito's having a really good time in there. Too good in fact because, oh, no, actually ignore me. Flair couldn't even get out the way despite a 20-second head start on that dive. The Mamelukes with a double powerbomb type move. Randomly, Vito starts biting David Flair, not sure why. Yet another scoop slam from Vito. Once again he does his second rope dive. It looks like bird turd and Flair does manage to dodge this one. Crowbar's finally back in and he throws about 5 drop kicks. Flair and Crowbar with the double back body drop which Daffney loves. The Bull tries a spin kick but falls over and Crowbar dumps him out of the ring. Big Vito hits his Impaler DDT on Crowbar and it should be over, but no, Daffney's on the ring apron. David Flair hits Vito with his crowbar and that is the 3. It feels like they were due a win. Unfortunately, it wasn't just a basic match, but it was also an ugly one. It's a D. You know what, I'm already so tired of seeing Crowbar and Flair feud with the Mamelukes, but it just seems to keep going. There doesn't seem to be any character advancement. I like both guys together, but nothing's changing. I still don't even understand why they're even friends, because they're both mad and all similar people must be together. Match 12, Nitro, WCW Tag Title Triple Threat Match, Harlem Heat 2000 with Jay Biggs, not them again, versus Flair and Crowbar covered in cake with Daffney versus the champion, the Mamelukes, who jumped them. Crowbar with a big kick to the belt, but he can't hit the back sack and crack because Vito suplexes him back. Vito with a diving half splash, half elbow now. The Bull also press slams Flair. Harlem Heat are in now with the Mamelukes. That goes on for a while as Flair and Crowbar happily exchanging hats on the ring apron. The most interesting thing is Daffney eating the cake from her fingers. Finally, Flair is in and his own partner throws him out the ring because he's useless. Crowbar manages the spinning back elbow on Stevie. That doesn't seem to hurt him much and he press slams him. Seconds later, Stevie Ray hits the slapjack, but Vito breaks up the pin. Flair is on the ring apron, hits Stevie Ray with a crowbar as Vito rolls him up. He watches on from the apron as the ref counts 3. What a useless, worthless wrestler. Didn't even want to win the match. This one's an S, there's no need to guess. Big T struggles to powerbomb the Mamelukes after the match, which isn't Crowbar's fault, but I just had to mention it. Flair and Crowbar beat on the Mamelukes with weapons. Why is this feud still going? Some geeks have to pull them apart. Why is Crowbar wearing a fishing hat? Why? What? Why? Match 13, final match, Super Brawl 2000, WCW Tag Title Stretcher match. It's Crowbar and Flair of Daffney taking on the champions, the Mamalukes with Disco. At 11 minutes, this is by far the longest match on our list today. This match is over when you've been carted out the arena on the stretcher. The Flair Crowbar team used the stretcher as a weapon straight away. Crowbar hits a splash from the crowd barrier. This is definitely the sort of environment he can succeed in. Johnny the Bull is stacked on a stretcher so that Crowbar could dive on him from the ring. Nice. They try to push him up the ramp, but they're stopped halfway. The Mamalukes start using the stretcher like a battering ram now. All 4 men get in the ring for the first time. Flair is knocked down as the Italians stamp all over him. They start double teaming more and more on Crowbar. As proven, Flair and Crowbar don't usually win in the ring, and they continue losing here. Daffney gets in the ring now looking like a fan that's lost her way. She actually hits a Hurricanrana which knocks off her wig. She also sprays Disco in the eyes with something. Crowbar has to make the save for Flair, who's almost carted out on the stretcher. Vito goes flying over some steps now, there's bodies everywhere. Crowbar makes Vito fly again with a power slam. He hits a lion salt too. Now a table comes into play. Vito and Crowbar keep reversing each other, but eventually Vito powerbombs him through the table. The Mamalukes hit a double slam on Flair now. It's really not looking good as both our guys are laid out. Once again, Johnny the Bull springs to the top rope, but he takes forever to do anything, so it loses its effect. He eventually does a leg drop. David Flair is placed on the stretcher and they tape him up. They take too long and the Crowbar is recovering. Wait, no, ignore me, the refs just wheel Flair away on the stretcher. I thought the point was the wrestlers had to wheel them up the ramp, so why were they doing it earlier if that's not the point? And why was Crowbar making a recovery at that point? So Flair's eliminated, who knows? Crowbar takes both of them off the apron with a table and splashes down on top of them. The bell starts randomly ringing. I assume it's Daffney messing around, but it's not clear. Trash can shots from Crowbar now, and another table is set up. He's too distracted and Johnny the Bull hits him with a pipe. Vito with a splash from the top to Crowbar on the table and he's now dead. Crowbar is wheeled out. Wait, no he's not. They actually half wheel him out just like the guy before. Now they have Daffney and the crowd erupt at that point. She's going mental as they tape her up in a wheelchair. They tape her mouth to stop her screaming and that's how it ends. Pretty nice match. I wish they'd done a few more close spots with people almost being eliminated and wheeled out. The match was really fun though. It was just missing a 5th gear. I'm going to give Crowbar an A. Notice how I just said Crowbar, and that is because Flair didn't really do a thing, and Crowbar did quite a lot. Talking of Crowbar, just before this tag team run ended, he took an insane chokeslam from the wall off the ring apron for a table, and the crowd weren't happy as Flair and Crowbar continued getting beaten up by the wall. Let me tell you brother, the Hawk can loudly hear the boos. I'm telling you, this team was popular. The wall just wouldn't leave those two alone though. The attacks eventually led to the end of the team as the wall threw Crowbar off the entrance scaffolding through some boards. Crowbar is written off TV for a bit. If you want to know more about what happens after this, check out my Daffney video as I kind of covered the aftermath. You know, since I've been making this channel, it's come to light that Crowbar has to be one of the most underrated wrestlers of all time. And you know what? Those bumps that Crowbar took for the wall turned out to be a complete waste of time. He destroyed his body for nothing, because the wall couldn't beat any of the top guys in WCW and he hit the famous glass ceiling. This is a tough final grade to give because one man did a lot and the other man did nothing. Daffney was great as their manager too, I want to say. I did really enjoy the team as a whole though, and I wish it could have gone on for longer. Crowbar and Flair can get a final grade for Ring of the Hawk Season 3 of a B. And that's the highest grade that David Flair will ever get for anything, and if you don't agree with that, I'll make you go sing.